there, and welcome to Cheyenne Mountain Zoo. My name is Miss Dawn, and I'm so excited that you are here to join us for a virtual tour. We're gonna see lots of really awesome animals today and learn some really interesting facts. So if you guys are ready, we're gonna go ahead and get started. On today's tour, we are going to be learning about different types of birds. There are over 10,000 different types of birds in the world, which is awesome. And they come in all different types of shapes and sizes. Some birds can fly, some birds can swim, some can't do either of those things, and so they run. They're really fast runners because they don't have good wings to lift their body weight. But all birds do have feathers, and all birds hatch from eggs. So the chicks that we just saw, those were only a couple of days old when they came to us at the zoo, and then they are growing up and meeting guests all the time and living a happy and healthy life out here at our zoo. So we're started with chickens because they are really familiar. People know them. We all know what a chicken is and are used to seeing them around. But we're using that as our baseline as we move into some of these other more obscure type birds that we would find around the world. So that bird that you guys had just heard before this clip was a bald eagle, as you could tell. And bald eagles are a bird that we're all fairly accustomed to seeing or knowing about. But the part we might not know is what they sound like. So I really wanted you guys to hear that because in the movies, somebody decided a long time ago that the sound that bald eagles make is not very strong or powerful. And so in the movies, they actually dub it over with a red-tailed hawk sound. So the sound that we are used to hearing for bald eagles is actually a red-tailed hawk. And the sound that you guys just heard, obviously, is exactly what a bald eagle sounds, as Ure was demonstrating so nicely for us. So really kind of cool difference there. And then this clip that we have been watching is our raven Poe. So they look very much so like a crow that we might also again be used to seeing. But they are larger and there's a little some other small differences between ravens and crows. But one of the big things here is throughout this, you have been noticing that she is really, really intelligent. So she figured out her puzzle feeder. She figured out how to get her treats. And right now she is cleaning up her mess in order to get more treats. So Ravens and crows, a lot of birds are really intelligent, and they can actually use tools, have figured out how to use tools in the wild to get to some food that they really want, which is super awesome. So that's a behavior that we have captured and have figured out how to share with our guests here at the zoo. This little guy here is Marty, and Marty, believe it or not, is a falcon. And falcons are a part of a group of birds called raptors. And some distinguishing features of our raptor birds are that they have talons. So you can see there he is using his talons to hold on to his food, keep a nice grip around it, and then he is using his curved, sharp beak to tear his food into smaller pieces so he can eat it. They also have really good eyesight as well. So some birds, all birds have claws, but some of them have talons rather than just flat claws. So those are the ones that we wear gloves with, whereas some of our other birds, like our chickens, we can just have them stand on our hand and it's not a problem. But birds like owls and falcons like Marty here, all of those raptors, then we would have to wear a glove with. So Marty, the American kestrel that we met, is a part of the raptor family, and so are owls. So Hoosier here is a barn owl, and he also has talons, he also has a curved beak, and then some of these behaviors that we're showing you are some of the other things that he would do to hunt and catch prey in the wild. So that behavior is called a dive bomb. We're gonna look at it from another angle here. See if we can see it from the view of maybe a mouse or something. Pretty cool. And when those owls are coming down, they're actually pretty silent when they are flying. So that's really cool as well. Now that we've met some birds that are closer to home that we would normally see around the areas that we live, I'm going to introduce you to some of the more exotic species that we have around the zoo that come from other places in the world. But another really common one that people are used to seeing and can recognize easily are peacocks. Peacocks originated in India, but are pretty widespread and do really well in lots of different places and climates all across the world. This is the wonderful display that we see with peacocks, but as you can see, they're getting a little bit confused between the female peacocks and the wallabies. So sometimes during breeding season, our male peacocks will pretty much show off for anyone that walks by. Moving south down to some of the warmer climates, over in Australia and the islands surrounding there, we find Eclectus parrots and other tropical birds who have much brighter colors than some of the birds that we are used to seeing here in the United States. So Mr. is an Eclectus parrot. He lives with us here at the zoo and he just turned 30. So he is 30 years old, but this species and many parrot species can live well into their 80s. So he is not a super old parrot by any means, but parrots, for this reason, being that they can live for a really long time and that they require lots of attention and like being around other birds or people all of the time, don't usually make the best companions and don't make the best pets. They, like I said, do require a lot of attention and they kind of have the temperament of a 2-year-old. So we'll constantly be asking for that attention. Thankfully, here at the zoo, Mr. meets guests on a regular basis and regularly works with his trainers. So he does get to learn new behaviors and keep his mind and his body nice and healthy all of the time. We also have another parrot here at our zoo. His name is Raider, and he is an African gray parrot, and he's really good at mimicking sounds. So I'm going to let you listen to those.
Well, hi. I know, what is it?
Raider, can you dance? No, can you dance? Pew pew! Can you dance? Good boy. Water? Hey buddy. Hey buddy. Spin. Can you spin? Spin. You can do it. Pew pew. You can do it. Good boy. Show off your tail. Are you excited? Baby bird? You baby bird? Dance?
Another bird species that we find in Africa, just like the African gray parrot, are African penguins. So African penguins are obviously a warm weather species of penguins. There are actually 19 different types of penguins around the world, and most of them prefer warmer climates. But penguins are really neat because unlike other birds, they have different adaptations. So they do not fly, so they actually don't have hollow bones because they don't need to be light enough to fly. They need to be able to swim deep depths so that way they can catch fish for themselves and for their families. They also have really light feathers that have special oils on them that allow the water to kind of run off of their feathers, and so they don't get wet and soaked and then are kind of like stuck, because that's not conducive to swimming either. And then obviously their feathers are covering, or their wings are more like flippers to help them when they are swimming through the water. So penguins, again, even though they do not fly, they are a bird. They have feathers, they do lay eggs. They just are a little bit different than other birds. around in Africa where there are just so many cool types of wildlife to learn about. There are more bird species here as well, and this one is really awesome. Vultures there are lots of different types of vultures, and vultures are super important to the environment and to the ecosystem. So having vultures around is really helpful because they kind of act like the trash man of the environment. So instead of hunting for their food like some of the other birds that we have met on our tour, these guys wait for other animals to be finished with their food, and then kind of come and clean up the mess afterwards. Or they wait for an animal that was sick or injured and has passed away, and then they will eat that, because some of those animals, if they are left and they're rotting, then they can pass on diseases and stuff. And so it's actually really helpful. Vultures, they are able to clean up that mess, so then there are not diseases going around to other animals and things like that. So this is a type of animal. They are referred to as detritivores or also decomposers. And we see those in lots of different shapes and sizes. They're not all birds. Some of them are insects. But vultures are a really, really important part of that decomposing system in the ecosystem. So it's awesome to have vultures around. And unfortunately, vultures are endangered. So we definitely always want to teach people about them because they help keep our environment nice and healthy. Another large bird that we often see on the ground, actually has the name ground in its name, is an Abyssinian ground hornbill. So this is a flighted bird again, but a lot of these hornbills actually prefer to spend most of their time on the ground. So you can see them running and hopping around. And here at the zoo, that is no different. Our keepers take Petrie and Zira out often into the zoo and walk around with them and allow them to kind of stretch not only their feathers and their wings, but stretch their legs as well. So you can see here how Zira is doing a good job following her keeper and getting treats. And then sometimes too, we allow them to explore on their own a little bit in the wild. These guys would be walking around and picking up bugs and insects that they might find in the grass. So Zira here decided that she wanted to go explore in the grass a little bit on her own and see if she could find any tasty treats in there. Unlike penguins, most birds don't really enjoy the water. And so how do we get the birds clean, or how do birds themselves clean? So most birds, like how our helmeted guineas here are doing, enjoy taking dust baths. So that actually helps clean their feathers, and then they will go back through and they can preen individual feathers themselves too if they need to, but they really like taking dust baths. Like I mentioned in the beginning, not all birds fly. This 80-pound, 6-foot bird is an emu, and their wings are not strong enough to help them fly, so they prefer to run. These crowned cranes were given a really cool form of enrichment. Many of us have been FaceTiming or Zoom calling with our loved ones, and so one of the keepers shared their phone with the crowned cranes here to see if they could try their own hand or claws or feet at FaceTiming. And as you can see, they might not really understand it very well. They might just be looking at their own reflection, trying to find food that might be nearby, but it's also a really cool way for us to get an up-close look. We can see those feathers, those headdress feathers. That's where they get their crowned crane name from. That waddle, and just like their beaks and all of their facial features up really close. So although it is different, it's still a cool way for the animals to keep their mind nice and healthy because they're being introduced to something new, just like we would do with any of our animals at the zoo.
Thanks again for joining us on our virtual tour today. I had lots of fun showing you guys around our zoo. I hope you enjoyed seeing all of the animals and learning lots of interesting facts. And I hope you guys have a good rest of your day. See you next time.